Okay. Next question. Next two are quite related, encode and decode. So let's start with encode. Okay. If you recall the province variable, let's go back to the actual data. Province variable, currently it is a string variable, but I think it will be quite awkward to work with a string variable. Okay, so I rather want to create a categorical, numeric categorical variable, which is province. So this is what you have to do. You encode the text or the string variable to generate a new variable. Okay, so I think this one we can do it slowly. Okay, let me close this. Okay, so it means encode the string variable province, which is in string or text format. I want to use it generate, yes, generate a new variable, which will be in numeric format, categorical numerical variable. Let me call it PPP. Okay, so let me repeat one more time. I encode a text variable, the province text or string variable, to generate a numeric categorical variable. I will call it PPP. Okay. So I will wait for 5 seconds and then I would press enter. Okay, and then we can go to the data editor. Now you see the changes. Okay, so this is the PPP numeric categorical variable. You can see Eastern Cape. You can see it is in blue fonts. Then it actually means it is not a string variable. Let me repeat one more time. For a text or string variable, it is shown in red fonts. But for a numeric categorical variable, and actually you can see Stata is so friendly creating the label for each category on your behalf. So it will be shown in blue font. So for example, Eastern Cape, do you see here? It actually has a numeric category 1. Gauteng, category 2. I think it is sorted in alphabetical order. And then KwaZulu-Natal, category 3. Western Cape, category 4. We can even go back to the previous race variable. Remember, it is a numeric categorical variable, and then we generated a label, and then you can see African, category 1, colored, category 2, and so forth. Okay, so I repeat one last time. For a string or a text variable, it is shown in red fonts, and I would not encourage you to generate a string variable because it is very awkward when it comes to typing the commands. I will show you a few examples later actually. Okay, so I think we can actually drop the string variable province. We can say goodbye to that. It is no longer needed. And then I rather want to rename this numeric categorical variable PPP as province now. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is what encode means. Okay, I think I've even done 1.21. I already dropped the string province variable. 1.22 is the other way around, decode. It means you want to decode a numeric categorical variable to generate a string variable. Okay, I would not recommend you to do that. As I have been saying, I don't encourage anyone to work with a string variable. But let's just do this command for the sake of learning this command. So decode, I must look for a numeric categorical variable. So I decode race, comma, I want to generate a text or string variable. Let me call it triple R. Okay, I will stop for 5 seconds until everyone is ready to press enter. Okay, so now let's look at the data editor. So you can see this is a string variable, African. You see it is not a numeric variable, not a categorical variable. You don't see something like category 1. So it is a purely string or text variable. But I would not recommend you to work with this one. I rather prefer to work with this one. So I'm going to drop the RRR variable because it is a useless variable. So drop RRR. Okay, so you can see triple R has disappeared. Okay, so you learn the encode and decode command. And then I also have done 1.23. I dropped the string variable triple R. The next one, 1.24. Remember previously we learned the drop command. We want to drop a variable. By the way, you can actually drop more than one variable. So you can just type drop and then followed by the variables you want to drop. And then the keep command is the other way around. It actually means I want to keep certain variables. So according to the questions 1.24, there are only 5 variables I want to keep. Year, CPI, real consumption, raise, and real income. So let me do this command. Keep year, CPI. Is it CPI? Let me just double. Yeah, it is CPI. Real consumption, raise, YPTI1. In other words, I don't really need the information on province. Okay. And then I can press enter. Then you can see the province variable has gone. Okay. According to my command, I don't need the province variable. Okay. The next one is interesting. When we work with the survey data set, let's say the Stats SA census or labor force survey, we usually give a unique ID to each participant. So if I go to this data set, you might wonder, do I need to manually type ID number 1 to the first observation, number 2 to the second observation? Maybe the sample size is small, 8 here, then it won't take too much time to manually create a ID number to each of the 8 observations. But when it comes to the actual Stats SA data set, there will be like 100,000 observations. You don't want to do manual typing to create a unique ID. So there is a command, generate a variable. I just randomly call it ID. It is equal to underscore. Underscore n means Stata would be so friendly to create the ID number on your behalf, starting with 1, followed by 2, 3, and 4. So let me do this command, generate ID equals underscore. You need the shift key, underscore, shift, then you press the key next to 0 actually on your keyboard, underscore n. Okay, generate ID equals underscore n. And if you are ready, you can press enter. Then I can even provide a description, label variable ID. I can say person ID number. Okay. And then I can look at the data editor. You can see a unique ID number is generated to each observation or each year. In this case, we're working with time series data. Okay. Next one. This is the next command called replace. Okay, let's say you have done some typo error. Let's read this question, which is quite interesting. 1.26. Assuming you made a data inputting error on the real consumption of the last person in the last year, his real consumption should be 600,000. Okay, let's look at the actual data. So currently it was incorrectly put as 548 whatever. The correct answer should be 600,000. Okay, so what are we going to do? So I think that relates to the last one. Okay, so I need to specify. So you also need to learn this if command, the condition. So for the last one, ID equals 8. By the way, you need double equal sign here. I need to tell Stata, if someone's ID number is equal to 8, please replace the real consumption value. This is the correct value, 600,000. So let's type this command. Replace cons1 equals 600,000. Then I specify the condition. If ID, keep in mind you need double equal sign. If ID equals 8, so this is the requirement. The person must have an ID number of 8 before this change in the real consumption value would be effective. Okay, and then you can see the message from Stata results window. One real change is made. If you don't believe in this message, then just click data editor. Do you see 600,000 there? Okay. So this is the replace command that involves the subcommand if. Okay. The next one. Let's say I create a string variable gender by typing the following. The first 4 are males, the next 4 are females, and I deliberately made a typo error so that relates to 1.29 if I remember correctly. Okay. So let's do that. So how can I manually type the text? So you have to go to data editor. I think the question says the first 4 people are male. Okay, it is a string variable. This is why you see the red font colors here. The next four, I deliberately made typo error, FMALE, and I made the typo error 4 times in a row. Okay. Okay, happy with that? Okay, so I finished 1.27. According to 1.28, the last person is actually not female, he's actually a male. So I need to replace combine. And then for this one, since the gender variable, I actually should rename the variable as gender. But let me first finish the explanation. This is what I mean by uh, uh, the awkward feeling to work with a string variable, because for the commands you always have to insert double quotation mark. But first of all, let's rename, almost a typo error, rename var7 as gender. Okay, and then according to the question, the 8th person should be a male, so let's do the replace command. Replace gender equals male. Remember to use double quotation mark. Gender is a string variable. If ID equals 8, so the last person, ID equals 8, he should be a male. So this is the command. You see one change made, then open the data editor. You really see the change being made here. But that's not the end of the story. These 3 observations, I must fix the typo error. So that relates to this one. Okay. 1.29. So let's type the command. So replace gender equals female. This is the correct spelling. If currently gender is misspelled as FMALE. So you can see I need double quotation mark because I'm referring to a string variable. So it is indeed very awkward to work with a string variable. It complicates the command actually. Okay. Replace gender equals female, the correct spelling, use double quotation mark, and then the condition or the restriction if currently gender is misspelled as FMALE. Okay, you see 3 changes being made. And now you see for this gender string variable, it has a maximum number of 6 letters. So this is what string 6 means. And then let's go to the data editor. You see the typo error is already fixed by Stata. Okay. And then the last one, it is quite interesting. I want to rearrange the ordering of the variables. When we work with the stats.sa datasets at a later stage, the unique ID number would always be the first variable appearing on the top, okay, followed by the personal characteristics. So according to question 1.30, I want to order the variable in this order. So this is the command order, then ID, year, race, gender. So these are the demographic information, followed by real consumption, real income, and CPI. Okay. So order, ID, year, race, gender, real consumption, real income, and then the last one is CPI. So I stop for 15 seconds until everyone is ready. Then we can press enter. Okay. Do you see the changes here? By the way, I forgot to provide a proper description of gender, so label variable gender, but we all know what it is actually. Okay. So just a quick recap of what we learned from this longest question. Question 1, we know the difference between data editor and data browser, how to rename a variable, that Stata is case sensitive, how to provide short description to the variable with the label variable command, how to use the note command to provide a long description to a variable, the list and describe command, summary statistics, one-way and two-way tabulations, and then the no frequency commands, the 2 cases, label, encode, decode, drop, keep, and then the replace command.